Welcome to the BYOD podcast. Bring your own directions. My name is Björn. I'm co-CEO of Resolution. And on this show, where every guest sets their own path, sharing insights and ideas about Agile topics and the Atlassian ecosystem. Proudly sponsored by NASA, not another stand-up app. The Atlassian marketplace app that makes Agile ceremonies, stand-ups, and planning sessions not just efficient, but also enjoyable. So please stand by. So welcome back. Today with me is Julie from Elements. So hi Julie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Björn. Thank you.
Perfect. So it looks like we have the same weather, sun, or?
Yes, we do. It's a very sunny day in Toulouse here.
Perfect. Are you a winter person or more the spring, summer person?
I would call myself a spring, summer person, but I also do like when we have snow in the winter in the mountains. I love the outdoor and nature, so
Cool.
Any weather is good.
Okay, this leads automatically to the next question. Skiing or snowboarding?
None. I'm terrible at on ski. My parents never took me, so I have to admit that I love mountain mostly for hiking and and snowboarding and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So I read a LinkedIn post today from you. So you are the finalist for the actual Atlassian Partner Awards we are all in preparation of Team 25, which will happen in 3 weeks in Anaheim. So first of all, congratulations to be a finalist on this. I think it's the ITSM topic, I assume, or?
Yes, it's the ITSM one. We are super excited about it because we invested a lot in refocusing the company around ITSM over the past year and now a quarter. And it would be really awesome for us to win, but also great just to be recognized as finalist because it shows that the effort pays off. So really happy about it.
Cool, perfect. We did also together last year, not in person together, but with colleagues from your company Elements. We did this joint tour, Beyond Team 24 tour. And I was also, I think I presented your product 2 times because somebody was sick. So I know your product already really well. It was I think, okay-ish for the customers. They asked a lot of questions and I took a lot of notes. But at the end was okay. But you mentioned now that you changed a little bit the structure, the strategy for Elements in the last couple of quarters. Maybe tell us a little bit more from the point now. Where is Elements at the moment, and where you want to head to, and where you're coming from?
Okay, I start with where we come from. So we've been in the market since the beginning of the marketplace. In fact, we were part of the founding vendors that put the very first apps on marketplace. And over the year, we did great, and we evolved as a generalist vendor, like most of us, having apps that cater to different use cases and business needs. And at the end of 2023, we decided it was time with what's happening in our market that we made a shift. And we decided to make a bold move for us because we had history, we had expertise in ITSM. In fact, our first product, Vertigo SLA, we sold it to Atlassian and they turned it into the SLA engine for Jira Service Management.
Mm-hmm.
That expertise, but we never had a strong focus on one market vertical. And so we made that decision, and we decided that from now on, we would only focus on this set of needs and customers, because otherwise before we struggled with innovating and launching new products because we saw different opportunities on different verticals and didn't know which one to tackle. And so we spread too thin our investment, whether now we're at a point where we've managed to internalize a lot of expertise around ITSM. We've managed to get back on track with innovation and launching new products, and we can talk about that a little bit later. And we are fully specializing and specialists around ITSM needs, whether with our historical mature products such as Connect or Copy and Sync, or with the new one that we've been launching, Pulse, that does XLA and experience management for Jira Service Management. And the newest one, launched just today, Elements Catalyst, doing a service catalog for Jira Service Management.
Okay, cool. So I thought Pules was your last one. Okay, but then there's another one. You're definitely then a pacemaker in the ITSM app world. Was it? Let's talk a little bit about the decision for focus on one vertical, because this is, I think, where a lot of app vendors or in general also you have the same challenge as solution partners, and it's valid for the Atlassian ecosystem, also for other ecosystems. There are approaches starting as a generalist, so doing a lot of different things. So that's what we are doing in cloud, for example. On data center, we have this pure technology focus on user management. So we took more an horizontal part, which exists on every customer, but one specific problem. So, but you at Elements made a different decision and said, okay, let's focus on more really the ITSM world, on all the challenges and all the nice things what you can provide to customers when they're talking about serving customers via service desks, omni-channel support, and all the stuff. I mean, it's a huge topic. So, but was it difficult to go in this direction? Because at the same time, it also means you shape the company in one direction and you potentially limit yourself in some opportunities in other areas. So was it a difficult decision, and what was the main trigger then for saying, no, we are going for ITSM?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think it was difficult because we tended to see opportunities everywhere. We also saw opportunities in other marketplaces. We saw opportunities across different markets. And at some point, we had to make the choice, because one thing that was very clear for the three of us as owners of Elements, Alexandre, Christophe, and I, was that we wanted to remain small company. What means small is a human-sized company. I don't know if you're familiar with the Small Giant book. It's a book that Nick from Easy Agile has mentioned to me a couple of years ago. And it's basically a guy that studied all of these companies that did go great instead of go big. And with our past Valiantis experience, we saw Valiantis growing big, and we realized that ourselves as people, we didn't enjoy it as much when the company grew big as we enjoyed it when we were operating a small and mighty company. So that was something that was deeply rooted in us, but also deeply rooted in the team. And I also wanted to remain working in a small or medium-sized company, human-sized. So we had this ingredient that was mandatory for building our next strategy iteration. And then we faced a challenge. We had tried to explore a lot of innovation opportunities, but every time when we came to the moment where we needed to decide whether or not we would invest significantly in it, we had no clear criteria whether or not it would fit our strategy on our portfolio. And we would always feel as a group when we were deciding on whether or not to go further, does it fit our strategy? Is it aligned? And that was a struggle. Whereas now, once we made that commitment to a space that's large enough for us to operate and be successful in, it's super easy to decide whether to guide teams where they should look for opportunities. And even within the ITSM space, we made a strong commitment, and we worked also on our mission to make sure that we really focus on customers-centric aspects, like that we connect service management teams with their customers on a level that create delight and value beyond expectation. That's our mission now. And refining that helped us identify the opportunities that we will be really super excited to pursue. So we will be effective, and also that we can add value to as well. Because when you focus on one expertise, you can add more value and you can capitalize on the value that you create.
It's interesting. I never thought about that. This starting point is somehow based on the strategy of being a great company instead of a giant company. It's interesting that this is the starting point. I mean, we're doing the same as Resolution. We don't want to grow the company to a certain limit because we did it in the past. We know, me and Christian, we know we are both good in this, but it's not that what we love. So we love to work in a small team, or what you mentioned, named human-sized team. Interesting. But was then maybe a question aligned to this? I mean, the last 2-3 years, maybe also 4 years, in the Atlassian ecosystem, you had tons of acquisitions. So a lot of small app vendors, also in some cases, medium-sized app vendors, famous app vendors, were acquired from big famous names like AppFire, like Tempo, and so on. So means, for me, it was a little bit like that. Your counterparts or similar companies are going away more and more, and you had somehow these 2-3 super big ones in the marketplace. Then you had some old school existing, always be there at vendors like Elements, like an Easy Agile, like an Easy BI, who is also a similar size, like in Resolution. But this amount of companies were smaller and smaller, and then you had a lot of smaller app vendors, more 70-80%, one-person teams, two-person teams, etc. So doing a decision like this, focusing on the ITSM opportunity and also the strategy, hey, we like to work in a team where I know everybody by name, and also maybe also know the names of the kids and so on. And in parallel around you, everything is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Was it somehow difficult to see all these acquisition stuff and created question marks on your side? How will the marketplace look like in the next couple of years?
It was, there was this moment when we would see an acquisition from a very big company every couple of weeks. So yes, it became kind of a joke internally. What's the next one? But I think we were lucky that our founder knew from the start that he wanted to do something different with Elements. He'd already sold the company Valiantis so he wasn't in need for money personally. So yeah, it helped us remain grounded in what mattered in terms of the company experience and what we wanted to create with Elements. Yeah. That he had that experience as well. So right now the market is a lot different, but we see that the ones that were, I think, tempted by an acquisition for whatever reason was good for them, I think already made that move. And here we are left with the companies that have strong why in terms of why they exist, what culture they want to build. And it doesn't mean that it's over. Maybe it will come back to a different trend. But I think that we found a way to create like a network of peers with your company, with also other companies in the ecosystem, where we share about our strategies, even working with the bigger ones, and still create a positive ecosystem and environment, I think.
Yeah, well, that's a nice description. I think I had a couple of times a little bit these question marks, and you also got, also a Resolution got a couple of times emails with a potential offer of selling and so on. And it was always sitting down together with Chris, should we do it? Should we do it not? And it was relatively quick. After 5-10 minutes discussing the offer, it was a clear decision what we want to do the next couple of years. And if we want to work again, because we both did it together in our previous jobs, selling a company to a big one with 4,000 employees and integrating this over 2, 3, 4 years, which is a super interesting task, but it's also a huge challenge. And it costs so much power, what I call more internal power, because it doesn't have immediately an effect on customers, and you need to do a lot of stuff with is not generating immediately value outside. And we said, no, we don't want to do it again. But I mean, you also did it a little bit different. I mean, Elements has their source somehow in Valiantis. So means you somehow took all the app vendor stuff out of the big Valiantis already at this time, big Valiantis, and you separated it. So tell us a little bit about this journey. I mean, it's relatively clear to be focused Valiantis solution partner and app vendor, and we saw it on a lot of other companies that when they started with both, that some companies makes a decision, no, let's separate it. But how was your journey at this time to separating Elements from Valiantis?
I think it's great. I'm going to go back in time, but just want to mention that, for instance, we have new offices. So it's been a few months that we went into a new beautiful building downtown in Toulouse, and so we are no more located in the same building with our Valiantis colleagues. But a testament of the strong partnership that we still have is that every time we do have something to celebrate, whether it's launching our new product or where it's also like just gathering together in the new office and just having an informal chat, they come, and it's great to see my former colleagues. So we've maintained these human relationships through this change, and it's great. Now, going back in time to address your point to where did it get started. I think that it was Alexandre and François, so the founder of Valiantis, decision that at some point they needed to split the two entities because it would be better for both. So we started as a business unit where we had our own focus to operate independently. We could have our own budgets, marketing decisions, roadmaps, without people being constantly taken away for consulting purposes, because this was the main focus of Valiantis and where growth and the larger group vision was to be executed. So first, there was this first step. And then the next one where we decided to have our own brand and own company. It was really coming to a realization that the great partnership that we have established with the Valiantis consultant, it's awesome, but we want to replicate that with other solution partners. We want to be able to talk to the other solution partners without being perceived as competitors. So we needed really the split between the two companies. It took a little bit of time for people to really understand that Elements is no longer Valiantis, but we do share bonds and a strong partnership with them. We have people from Valiantis leadership as board members helping us shape our long-term vision, but no more operating as the same company.
Yeah, and it makes totally sense, because also you did it in an, I mean, a lot of companies did it in parallel. I think when Elements was separated from Valiantis, I think K15T also went more in these app vendor direction, and a couple of others as well. And it was an interesting point, because it was still the point where the market, the Atlassian market and marketplace and the ecosystem was strongly growing. So the cake was always big enough for everybody. So normally it was not a huge problem to talk to somebody when you are a competitor, because you also sometimes shared opportunities or deals, or said, hey, dear Comunado, you are the better one, you are local on site, so do you please serve customer XYZ? But nowadays we are living in a complete different world. So the growth rates are different in the Atlassian ecosystem nowadays. So in the last, it was mainly the last 3 years, it went a lot more competitive, and more to a well-established ecosystem, not the crazy guys with the software stuff around anymore, more these ecosystems like SAP, Salesforce, Microsoft, Cisco, you name it. And I personally think it was the right move. And that was, we as Resolution, we always said we never want to go to a services business because, first of all, we did it in the past in another company. We know all the benefits of a solution business or services business, but we also know the downsides, the scalability, the hard months versus the good months. But we had also always the point, when we do solutions in parallel to apps, then we are immediately a competitor to our partner landscape. And at this time, I think similar as you, we dealt already with a couple of hundred partners. And when you then start to being competitive to them, you shut down relatively quick, maybe a good partner relationship. Yeah, it's an interesting point. But was this at this time already also the combination with, hey, we want to run it smaller? Was this also a trigger, or was this coming then on a later point?
Well, that question came to a later point because I think at this time we were a really small team within Valiantis, so we had really room to grow. It came in 2023 when we reached roughly 30 people within the company, and we had to decide what next for the next 3 years. And that question came both from us as leaders, but also from the teams. And we said it's something that we have to embed in our strategy so that we take everyone with us forward, I think. Okay. But yeah, it was different steps, I would say.
How big is Elements now, and what is your definition of a human-sized company?
Okay. So currently at Elements, we are about 35 people within the company. Depends on we count. If we count like the people that we have internally within the teams or the people that we subcontract with and we consider as satellites to the company and that really are a part of our journey and our success. And my definition of a human-sized company would be no bigger than 50 people within the company. You mentioned like knowing the people by their name, their spouse, and their kids. The family style that we can keep. I think it's under 50, 40 people that I feel most comfortable.
I could imagine. I could imagine. I think it's what we learned. So from time to time, we also invested in other startups, and for them, there is this milestone more than 10 people, which makes it difficult because then in some case, or at this stage, you need to think about structure. So around 10 people and below it can be 10 crazy people working together and having the same goal, and they're all going in the same direction. But higher than 10 people, you need to think about, okay, HR, accounting on a proper way. You need to do all the regulation stuff, which is necessary. But you also need to think about structuring. You have the first decisions in, is there maybe a team lead for something or whatever? And then it scales relatively well from 10 to 30, 40, 50. And then it starts 50 starts definitely, it's getting more complicated. Okay, I can imagine what you mean then with your definition. How is Elements structured? So I had in the latest last episode of the podcast, I talked to Andreas from Yasun. So they had these classic and at the same time relatively unique story of two developers founding a company, and they have still a huge development background, and CEOs are developers, etc. So how is Element structured from developers to what I call from time to time overhead, not on a negative way, more on a positive way. So overhead is management, marketing, all sales, all the stuff what you need around the developers. How is Element structured?
Okay, I can start with how we are sharing now our responsibilities with Christophe. So I lead what we call strategy, innovation, finance, and HR. And Christophe on his side has everything that revolves around product management, engineering, customer support, and data. And legal as well. And I'm glad he has legal as well. So that's how we divide it between the two of us. And then we have leaders for every department. We're quite structured, actually. And
sounds like, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think we owe that to our founders founder, Alexandre, because he came from Valiantis and he had like all this experience scaling the company. So he left us with really structured business. So we have a marketing function that's led by a head of marketing, product function, customer support and IT, HR and business operations, and engineering as well function.
Yeah.
At Elements. And then we have different teams. We have now three development teams working within the company. What else could I describe? The marketing team is and the product teams work hand in hand to shape the roadmap, but also execute on the go-to-market.
Yeah. So is it that's always interesting because also when I look on how we structured a resolution, for example, of product owners have a double role because they're also working in marketing, because on some point we said, okay, it makes for a sense for not having full-time product owners because we have so many products. So we shared the responsibility over existing people and said, okay, that's amazing because then I'm bridging the gap that somebody from product need to explain to marketing what is now the value and so on. So they're getting all the development experience and all the knows why we are not doing this and why we're going in this direction. They have it already. That's a little bit the positive side. The negative side is that they're definitely living in this pressure point of development, delivering, and selling, or doing marketing for this stuff. So prioritizing where I should spend my time. So when you are sharing with Christophe, so you are doing strategy, and a little bit simplified, Christophe is doing product, yeah, or also responsible for product. So where do you see the biggest benefit and also the biggest downside of these classic co-CEO scenarios? I'm also working in a co-CEO scenario where sometimes you are totally aligned on a decision. Sometimes you discuss things more and you have maybe different opinions, where I personally find that's the biggest benefit to have a discussion, because then you can get different perspectives, you maybe learn stuff and so on. How's it working for Elements to have the strategy and product separated as an app vendor, and how do you handle it on the positive and also negative side?
Yeah, that's a very good question. First, talking about the co-CEO model, I think it's great for so many reasons. One you mentioned, like being able to have a healthy debate with someone, is amongst the first one. I think the time we made the best decisions were where we debated it, and usually it's kind of lonely when you're in a leadership position, and being a team of two is making it less lonely. Plus, you can take holidays and still feel confident that someone's in charge.
For sure.
That's a good benefit. Another one is that you don't have to be the best at everything. I think Christophe had a good metaphor for how we complement each other just the other day. He said Julie has glasses to see far, but a little bit blur. That's why I'm more working on strategy and vision, and help our product teams have that strategic and vision-focused mindset. And Christophe has super clear, super detailed close sight.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of complement each other. And it's not very much formalized in any way, but we've been working together for over 10 years now. So we know each other very well, and we know each other's strengths, and each other also bad habits or biases, I would say.
Yeah. So, do you have the one, because I discussed it with so many startups, so especially when startups in an early stage and they are single founder and they know they are more the expert. Sometimes you have this development starting point, so they know they are good in product and all the details, and I'm also delivering the stuff. But then they are maybe not so good in all the business stuff, all the marketing stuff around the stuff around these things. And for them, it's sometimes hard to give away this responsibility, so especially in a small company. So what is your, well, I mean, you mentioned already 3-4 amazing points why having a co-CEO or somehow these shared responsibility is beneficial. But when you need to choose one, what is the biggest recommendation for you for when somebody wants to go in a co-CEO scenario, or they may be thinking about it, how to share these responsibility, how to start with that, how to discuss it, or how to work together? Do you have one big recommendation,
I think
or maybe a big fail what you did in the past and you don't want to do again?
I think it's a huge bonus if you know the person at work. If you worked with the person already in the past, because you know the person's strengths and weaknesses as well. In terms of dividing up responsibilities, I think it should align to the co-CEO's passion, top power skills, and also make sure that there is enough overlap for the co-CEOs to work as a team. For instance, you mentioned product. Yes, Christophe manages our head of product, but I also have a one every 2 weeks with our head of product so that we can share and align, and I can nourish him with strategic insights, and that he brings him back feedback as well around our innovation program. So it's about this Venn diagram. You need to have 2 circles with an overlap and not just 2 divergent circles. That would be my my advice is aligning it with the co-CEO's strengths is great. One example is Christophe is awesome with data. In the early days of Elements, I had data under me because with marketing we needed a lot of data, and at the time I had the budget and the bandwidth to have someone do data part-time. One of the best decisions we made was when we made data be a part of Christophe's responsibility. He's so passionate about it. Like in the evening, he can work data out, and so it's bringing him energy. But also, he brings so much to the function and to the people under him that I think it was a really good decision.
That's an interesting point, because especially when you had data somewhere more on from the marketing trigger side. I mean, we all know as Atlassian marketplace vendors how the data streams work, how the quality is from time to time, how much you need to tweak to get a proper understanding. Okay, what is this data now saying to me? And but yeah, I can imagine how the benefit looks like. But this is an amazing trigger for the second part of the podcast. So because you talked about how you work together, and you also said, okay, that you have also a weekly meeting with product. So like always, I sent a survey to you. It always has a focus on Agile meetings, stand-up meetings, but you said already to me in the preparation, okay, I take it a little bit for my meeting structure because you're not joining daily stand-ups, and you took it for your weekly meeting. So let me quickly share my screen. Let's check a little bit what your answers are. So share screen, and here we go. Perfect. So I think the first part of the questions is like always about journaling, because it comes from that we learned on really nice way in the last couple of years that when you prepare meetings, your meeting is much better. So, but we also both know, I mean, we are working in a similar position, and this job often means for jumping a talk in some meetings without a preparation, understanding quickly, okay, what are the circumstances here, and then helping the team or guiding them in a specific direction, and so on. So you answered that for sticking on time and with the weeklies and so on, that you are more on the neutral position here. So what is your behavior, your weekly behavior, to prepare the meetings with, for example, your product people, and how are they preparing the meetings with you, so that you have at the end an effective meeting? Or is it maybe nobody prepares a meeting and you just figure out what we are discussing in the next hour?
I had different meeting structures depending on who I work with and what the topic is. I think I've blended different methodologies for different meetings. For instance, in our executive meetings, we have something that's similar to the Agile questions. And I think doing this exercise made me think maybe I could focus a little bit more about where each leaders needs help within the team. I think it would help us have a little bit more empathy, but we have the same structure where we would share the updates with what's going on within the team and what were the successes, what are the pains, things like that. It's not fully Agile, but it's inspired by Agile. And we also have, so that's where we prepare, but we also have room for topics that we want to discuss. And we use a lean coffee format for that, which means that everybody come up with topics they want to discuss, and then we vote for the topics. And that's very interesting because it's helped us manage to get to talk the topics that were either the most urgent or the most important for the group, because we are now quite a large leadership team for a vendor company. And for us, it's worked well. For instance, this structure. I do have more formal meetings with more formal agenda point where I require people to come up prepared, or more informal ones, depending on who I work with and what's the agenda.
Okay. So I know, let me jump to the next one, because my next question, or line question too, is going already to the next point, which is about listening in meetings. I mean, what I'm doing, for example, in meetings, so most of my meetings are remote meetings. And I focus heavily on the videos of all the attendees. So because I try to figure out who's active listening, who's doing some Slack stuff in parallel or checking emails, and I try to motivate them also for active listening, also when it's maybe not their perfect topic. I mean, it's always balancing in a meeting that one person is not boring 10 other persons to death with a detailed discussion. But at the same time, sometimes you need to accept the case that I maybe need to listen for 10 minutes to something which is not interesting for me at the moment, but maybe in the future. And the information is maybe valuable for something in the future. So your answers in the survey are that you are an active listener, and I know how hard it is to be an active listener. So do you have somehow a superpower or a recommendation what you want to share, how you try to focus your behavior on active listening?
First of all, I'd like to start to say I'm not perfect. There are meetings in which I am multitasking because I'm late with work and I have to go pick up my kid and I really need to get some things done. So apologize for the people on my team who will watch this podcast. I feel like you're not perfect, Julie, on that. Yes, good. But when I'm in my active listening mode, I try to picture in my head what's happening for other people within the company. Really try to understand how I can help, what's expected for me. And we also have a rule that, for instance, I'm going to stick with our executive meeting because I think it's a good example, that if topics involves less than half of us, so less than 3 people, it has to be taken in another meeting, discussed and debated in another meeting, and then presented maybe the outcome to the group. We just need to be. So we try to keep ourselves in check whether we need to contribute to the discussion or whether we just have to be informed of a decision that's within another group scope, I would say. And with that, I think it helps keeping the meetings short, engaging for the audience. And we also try to upload as much as we can stuff in Teams or Slack messages for the people that just need to be informed. And with that rule properly expressed within the team, it helps us like reduce the amount of meetings and the times when I feel I'm not a good active listener because just I have a say in what's discussed.
Yeah. Okay. I have so many triggers now. So first of all, I potentially really should switch that. I'm not doing the survey with a person. I'm doing the survey with a team, which is working with a person. But that's maybe a future idea. I like your rule with these. Okay, when it's only interesting for 3 people, then hey, guys, please take a separate room and inform us about the outcome. I think that's very often the case. What we are doing with stand-up meetings, for example, we allow questions. This could easily lead to a discussion of 2-3 people, and then somebody need to stop this with exactly, hey, please take it separate, inform us about the outcome, because here are 10 other people at the moment, and we want to stick in time. Is everybody in the team then potentially hands up? So guys, please take it separate, or is it always the same person, or is it always you? Because my point or my experience is a little bit, it's sometimes hard for people to interrupt also a manager or other colleagues and to say something like, please take this separate. How's it in your team? Is everybody then hands up, or is it always the same person?
It's not always the same, but it's often Christophe or myself. That's the good thing also about being co-CEOs, is that
Yeah.
you get to be able to interrupt the other CEO, which is good. But it happens that people that report to us would interrupt us in meetings and say, hey, I think it's something that you should discuss elsewhere. And when people do that, that's great, because it allows us to stay on track with what's the agenda for the meeting.
Yeah, that's also what where I always try to motivate my team or the teams. Hey, come on, please tell me when I'm going off track. So we are all humans. It can happen to everybody. The value of meetings. I mean, you mentioned already that you also try to balance which informations are shared in meeting and which one are maybe better in a Slack message or a Teams message, and so on. And I mean, I asked here the questions a little bit focused on stand-ups, and we will come to this point in a second, because you are not joining stand-ups to being up to date, as I learned. And you said, okay, you have different meeting structures depending a little bit on the topic. But you also said, okay, you have your weeklies. So what is, when we look a little bit to the value, what people want to achieve, like having short feedback loops, understanding the work output of a specific team, or are we still on track with specific goals? How do you structure your weeklies to achieve exactly this, that you're getting the whole stuff, what happened in a condensed way, in a summary, but still enough information that you can work on strategy, for example? So how you structure your weeklies?
It's very interesting. You're talking about weeklies. I would say we have different meeting cadence depending on how much detail and how quickly we want to adjust, basically.
Okay.
So, for instance, we have we use OKRs. So
Yeah.
we have a plan this year with ambitious goals, and we set our OKRs for just a quarter. And we have a quarterly review, and there we go in depth into our business results and the initiatives that each team took to achieve these results. We also have a monthly review, business review, where we will check metrics that are actually worth checking every month. And we report that to the team through a live Q&A session where we explain where we're at, how are we performing, well, bad, and what's working. And then we have the weeklies or bi-weeklies where we get more operational updates. It's more output focused rather than outcome focused. So it really depends on on what I want to achieve with the meeting. And I think the dailies are great for operational teams because they allow them to course correct very quickly. And
Yeah.
the question I think I ask myself whenever I decide for a meeting cadence is, how fast do I want or need to course correct if I need to course correct? How is the information going to evolve over time? Does it need to be quickly addressed? Will I have enough information by tomorrow, or will I have enough information by next month or by next quarter? That's how I approach that.
That's I think a super valuable recommendation, by the way. I never thought about meeting cadences based on the question, how quick do I need to course correct it potentially? That's a really good one. I like it. So because a lot of people, or what we're discussing with organizations, also based when we're discussing the not another stand-up app with them, is what is the right cadence for a sprint, and then all the aligned meetings and so on. And we changed it, for example, for resolution 1.5 years, or no, 2 years ago. Now, when we switched to 4-day week, because we realized, hey, our sprints are now so short, there are not enough working days. It makes no sense to have these super tight cadence. Let's stretch it a little bit. And we played around with 4 weeks. At the end, we ended up with 3 weeks, because that was somehow where we said, okay, when we do something stupid in one sprint, 3 weeks are acceptable, worst case scenario. But it also gave enough time to have meaningful results. And that's, I think, where, based on this course correction, it's where we also try to motivate our team always, when they work on something, work also quickly on the visible stuff, because this allows other people, other stakeholders, to get a feeling about it and to giving feedback. So when I have it often when a developer is working on technical depth stuff for a couple of weeks, then I can't get an idea if he's going in the right direction or not. Then it's maybe our technical lead can judge on it and so on. But yeah, it's interesting with these course correction stuff. I like this one. So what's the reason for you not joining? Well, I mean, you can, let me ask it different. You can open up this story, and I see it on some managers. I'm also doing it in some meetings, or joining stand-ups from time to time to be a little bit informed in real time. So what was your point for saying, no, I'm staying away from stand-up meetings from the devs, for example, or product, and I go more to other cadences and so on? So what was your point for not going in these real-time meeting micromanagement way?
I start with a story from back in the days where we were a smaller company. Back then we were like, and I see that as I sometimes tend to think of a company as a living organism. And back then we were kind of this one cell company where everybody would attend to the daily. So I back then led marketing, and I attended the daily, and I would share my updates to everyone, so everybody was know of what I was doing. And then we kind of dividing ourselves into different cells. Marketing went outside. Then we had different squads, and they all have their meeting cadence, etc. So I think it's as your organization mature, you only have so much time and energy that you can and updates that you can absorb, and it's really about this impact or course correction thing that I do not attend dailies. Also, it's because when you evolve into a management position, it's kind of a Schrödinger effect. If you're not in the room, the team considers itself as an autonomous cell, which is what we want. But in the room, the relationship is different. For our innovation program, we have a different approach. We have a shared room. We are not called managers within this project. We are called sponsors.
So you're taking a different role somehow then?
Somehow we have a different role. Yes, we are coaching the team, we are guiding them, what we are letting them make their own mistake. It's kind of a startup within the startup. That's how we approach it. And so within Accelerate, our innovation hub, we have, before we launch, we have a meeting cadence where we meet with the team, but they share what they've developed and they're thinking, and we're here to help and advise. And here it makes sense for me to be there, but not on daily basis. And if I want to hear, maybe I'm missing on the team's struggles or daily struggles, and that's kind of the drawback of my choice. It's kind of that I can fall into the the actor observer bias, when you think you're not acting on something and you do think it's super easy. I did some work in my house lately, and I realized how hard it is to make sure things are done properly, enjoyed. I wanted to do this experience, and I think it helped me a little bit relate again to the struggles of making stuff and the unexpected, and making sure things fit together. It's kind of a good metaphor for engineering or operational work. But these kind of details I get at the coffee machine. That's why I go to the office. I go to the office to talk to colleagues and see how they feel, what's up, and listen to their day-to-day and their struggles. And I can also hear the abstract version of that from my manager colleagues who would attend to more frequent cadence meetings. But it's not.
Elements is also mostly based in Toulouse, or so you have also the benefit that you can really meet the people on the coffee machine, or?
We do. We're mostly based in Toulouse. We have 3 people in Bordeaux and 1 person in Montreal in Canada. And we also have people we work with that are based in Portugal, but not Elements employees. And these coffee machines things work either because I meet my colleague at the office, or it's when we have our team days or camps offsite. That's where I will try to spend most of my time bonding with my colleagues and connecting emotionally to them, understanding their challenges, their work, their struggles, them as people.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. Also, I like these with your innovations approach, that you're stepping in a different role. I try to do the same, to change sometimes the heads, and I mean it's difficult because I get also reflections from the team. Okay, now you're in the product owner role and you're saying to us, hey, when you have a stupid idea, so everybody should mention it, but you are also still the CEO. So it's sometimes difficult to motivate everybody that forget the CEO part for a moment. It's about the role. And when my role in the meeting is being the product owner, then as a developer, you are totally allowed to say, Björn, this is an amazing idea, but it will never work. So, and then we are back to our point that when somebody is debated or discussed on a good way, then normally you end up with a better result. And that's, I always find it a little bit frustrating when I see that people avoid discussions or debates. I mean, you can also discuss things to death for sure, but it definitely, when somebody has somehow good or negative feedbacks on something, it always should be discussed. Interesting. I learned a lot already about your meeting culture. I think I really, for me, the changing point is these thinking about meetings and these, okay, what is my cadence for course correction? So that's an interesting approach. So third part of the podcast is always you are allowed to bring a topic. So we learned now a lot already about elements, about your journey, how the team is structured. So podcast is bring your own direction. So what is your D? What is your directions?
My D, Björn, is differentiation.
Oh, nice one. Explain it. Why you have chosen this?
I chose this for so many reasons. I chose this because of the timing of now. I think it's a time in our industry, in our ecosystem, where we need to differentiate from the competitor next door. Our industry has evolved into a mature ecosystem, like we discussed. And it's a time where we need to make sure that we are the best solution for a very well-defined set of customers. And that's what differentiation is all about. And I chose this also because I come from marketing. It's always been my passion to understand customers, why they buy, and why they keep using and keep placing their trust in our company and in our product. And yeah, I think it's a valuable topic for people that would listen to us to talk about, because it's a moment where we need to differentiate as marketplace players.
Okay, so have you? I mean, I talk at the moment to a lot of marketplace vendors. I was last week on the Jira or Divinity Jira Day and met a lot of solution partners, also marketplace vendors. And you mentioned it already. It's a moment, a different time as it was a couple of years ago. And I totally agree. I think 2025 is potentially the most challenging year for the Atlassian ecosystem for thousands of reasons. Have you found already the holy grail of how to differentiate from all the others? Because that's the question mark what everybody has at the moment. How to stand out? How to? When I talked to Andy from Yasun, for example, they said, and they are also super in the niche. Yeah? So they decided, okay, Yasun is a company for integrating Office 365 and Jira, or more. How he said, we are integrating Jira in Office 365. So that's their differentiation. But he also explained to me, for many years, just the marketplace was enough as a channel, as a communication channel. People found the app, you have your description, that's well done, some good screenshots, buff, enough. And he's at the moment at the same point of saying, okay, I see that this is going down. So how can I now differentiate my communication from other people in the marketplace? What should I do more, and so on? And that was a little bit his future challenge at the moment. Do you have at Elements already this holy grail scenario done, or are you still experimenting?
Oh, surprise! I don't have the holy grail, but
Sad. I hoped for good guidance now.
I do have some tips learned through our journey of growing and evolving the company through these times. These are experiments. These are things that I think have worked for us. I think my first advice would be first focus on your core capabilities, things that you really are good at and passionate about, because you're going to invest a lot of time on building a company, building products for something. So work on your why, work on where you excel at, and also be very aware of what's happening around you, the trends, the opportunity. For instance, with our new app Pulse, we noticed that there is a shift between the traditional model, the SLA one, where people expect you to do something within a certain time frame. Now companies are expecting more from their partners and the people they contract with. They want a great experience, and that's where experience level agreements comes in, and that's why we are investing in this forward thinking niche, because we believe that's where the world is going. We are more and more we don't want just to go to a restaurant. We want to have a good evening with someone. And this experience shift is really something that we noticed, and we said, okay, this is it aligned with what we are good at, and how can we? Why now and why us? Basically, I think that's the two questions. And the third advice would be, don't go on this journey alone. And leads me to, I think, something that we are really good at Elements and really passionate about is co-creation, collective intelligence. Something I'm really fond of is it's that whenever you come up with the first rocky idea, and when someone else comes in and can polish it and evolve it, it's great. And in this moment of our ecosystem journey, I think it's time for everybody to find who to partner with, but partner on a deeper level. Can we co-build products and solutions with some solution partners? Because we have shared interests, shared expertise. Maybe they have the connection with the customers, but we have the engineering and product packaging expertise. Cool, let's work together. Can we share ideas about how to price and to package with another vendor that we trust? Let's do that. And maybe we will come back more richer with the shared insights. Let's do a podcast, for instance, with you. And maybe I will come back with tons of ideas to implement for Elements. I will, promise. And yeah, and in my personal life, I do improv theater.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm always fascinated at what happens when you put two people on stage. They have no clue what they are going to do,
Yeah.
but their ideas meet one another, and they create something new, something that would never have happened if they hadn't met. So that's where I think we could, as an ecosystem, create more values for mutual customer, is by coming together and sharing what we know and what we're good at, and seeing what happens.
I think that's first of all, I'm impressed that you're doing improv theater. I was not aware of this. So, but I think that's what I see a little bit the last 2 years also when I look on all the events. And for example, we said this year we are limiting ourselves this year a little bit. We are not going to every event because we say, okay, it's always a big time effort at the end. And also the events are relatively the same nowadays. You have always these good ones like the Jira Divinity Day, where I strongly believe it's one of the most important events in Europe. But you have other events. I don't want to blame specific events where I saw them now a couple of years and they are always the same. And what I deep dived a little bit in the direction, and I think that's a little bit missing in these marketplace, solution partner, customer ecosystem, is that so many solution partners and marketplace vendors have amazing scenarios, what they created for customers, which is normally known as use case, but very often just two parties create a use case. And that's also why I enjoyed so much the Björn Team 24 last year, because 4 or 5 marketplace vendors, including Elements, came together and said, hey, let's think about these use cases. But I think in combination with solution partners, it's still rare. And it would be so interesting for customers to understand more what have other companies in my industry done with the Atlassian stack. And maybe I can reuse the same solution or parts of the solution. I think these are, there's no good platform yet for it to doing it. I mean, Atlassian is trying it at the moment with solutions. So every marketplace solution partner is pushed to write down all the solutions and to define the solutions. I personally think that makes totally sense. It has a ton of benefits. But what I don't like so much on this approach is that this is focusing more on solution catalogs. Yeah, so it leads to the point that one size fit all stuff, and at the end, it's often sales or consultant and or customer enablement to think about stuff, but you are ending up anyway with a customer in an individual solution as a solution partner, and the customer is buying then a la carte because every customer is different. Every demand is slightly different. So I think the interesting point where these solutions and differentiate is a really, really good one. My hope is that when all the solution partners are coming up with their solutions and different approaches to that, that it's not looking too similar. Because I have a quote from a friend, complete different topic. He said many, many years ago, are you guys in Berlin, you are trying to looking so individual. Every person tried to look so individual that everybody looks the same at the end. So, and that's a little bit the picture here. So when the whole ecosystem is going at the moment in the solution approach, how can then somebody differentiate again? So what is your take on this? How you're doing this? I mean, you have the clear ITSM strategy and working area, so this gives already a direction. But you potentially have also the small challenge that ITSM is always a hot topic. At the moment, it's also a lot about DevX, so Atlassian is putting another topic on the main plate. So how do you think Elements will handle this in everybody's trying to differentiate? How can you be more differentiated too?
It's a very interesting. So I think you cover two very interesting aspects in one question. The first one is, can we be a victim of our differentiation, like differentiating for differentiating and creating something that nobody cares about and nobody wants really to buy just because we want to be different? Yes, we can, but that's where the feedback loops with the market are super, super important. And then it's about not resting on our laurels and thinking, okay, I'm differentiating now. And gravity happens and other people will come and you will get undifferentiated.
Yeah.
Striking a balance isn't easy. My take would be that and what I'm really passionate about is that you get to evolve your positioning, you get to evolve how you market yourself and how you differentiate over time. It's always pursuit. It's never ended. You will never be right. For instance, right now, one of my missions is to explore where we could go next and where we shouldn't go next. What should be the next refining area? First step was ITSM, great. But through this journey, we learned that what we cared most about within ITSM was the customer-centric aspect of it. How can we improve the customer experience, the experience that a company has with its customers? So it's so good they want to praise them for it, that they want to recommend them. And we work not through our existing apps, but also through new ones to provide value for that, unlocking that value. So I think it's a continued journey about reflecting about why do I do what I do? Why do I exist as a company? And how, who cares about that? And how can I improve, or can I refine that as well?
Yeah.
It's all pursuit. Right now,
continuous process. So it's not these, okay, every 3 years I have these differentiation tasks, then I do it for a couple of months and then I'm can put it again in the backup. That brings me to an interesting point. I mean, Atlassian is giving marketplace vendors and also solution partners this year a lot of new tools in the hand to differentiate. So it's it was it was published on a community page anyway, public, so we can talk about it. There was this huge RFC 60, so that's the headline of all the people who went into it with ideas for different pricing models, where Atlassian asked for feedback. They got a lot of feedback, and at the end, it looks like they are doing it anyway. So I think they take the feedback as valuable, but it feels a little bit like the plan was anyway done. So it was, you can like it or not, but we will execute it anyway. In this RFC 60, and we see already upcoming things, it's also combined with other things like app editions are there. Bundling will come. We have multi-instance pricing is coming now, where tons of partners, customers, everybody has question marks at the moment over the ad. And this will be combined this year and the next couple of months with more pricing models like the decoupling of ITSM, Jira Service Management, and Jira pricing, plus these classic user pricing, where in the future a company can decide, I just want to license these 10 guys here in my 10,000 user instance because they are just using it, which will bring a lot of complexity in this whole ecosystem. Because nowadays, I strongly believe that the simplification of the pricing model, that I can go at the moment to the marketplace, I see an Elements app, I click on try it for free, it's immediately calculated what are my costs, and I put it somehow in my cost structure, and I know, okay, that's what I'm paying for that. So this will not work in the future anymore. It will be more complicated. But Atlassian believes that this will have a lot of benefits. So what are your thoughts on all these Swiss Army knife toolbox, which we are getting now for differentiation from a pricing perspective or how we sell stuff. Is it beneficial? Do you think it will be good, or what are your thoughts?
I think it can be a double-edged sword. My personal take is that a lot of it is super interesting for us as marketplace partners. The app editions, for instance, it's great because it's going to enable us and push us to really understand why do customers buy us, how do they use us, and how can I upsell. That's not something we can do today. So this one I'm really excited about. The app bundle one is also very interesting because it allows for apps that have been there and that cover the part of a customer journey to combine them and offer a full solution to a business problem. So that takes us from app selling to solution selling. But my overall feeling is that it's I hope Atlassian won't blame me for it, but if they do, that's okay. That's feedback for them. It's too much too rushed. Especially the one that scares me most is the Jira decoupling, where you could have a company buying for 10 users. And then for 10,000 instance, it will take a lot of education for customers to understand these new options. And at the end of the day, I'm really curious how it will work and how Atlassian will tackle the market feedback, because at some point they will have the market feedback. Will it work? Will it enable new apps to come to life? Will it enable existing app to grow further on or faster? Or will it have a backlash effect where it will, create some headaches in the customer's mind and make them feel like they don't understand apps, so they will it will add friction somehow. We'll see. The way we approach it is that we will work with pilot projects to learn. But in 2025, we no plan to go all in on any of these initiatives. Only the multi-instance licensing one, because it's not optional, it's mandatory, and we do our homework, and we have our model. We'll see if it's the right one over time, and we will refine it. But for us, it's going to be iterative, and I hope Atlassian will take the market feedback as well as we do.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree to your points. I'm on the same page with that, and I saw it in previous ecosystems. I saw it in the Cisco WebEx world. So WebEx was the equivalent of Teams and Zoom and so on, or it still exists, but it's not. You have the big ones, Teams, Zoom, and there's somehow WebEx, and they went from a classic model that every user need to be licensed, a little bit like it works at the moment in the marketplace, to a named user model. So that's what we also will see. And then it ended up with a concurrent user model. So it means as a company of 10,000 users, you licensed 200 concurrent users, and this means 200 parallel meetings can happen, but every user of the 10,000 has a login, and then you balance it out. And I think that this was, I mean, that was not invented from Cisco. I think Microsoft came up with models like this as well. But this was, for me, an amazing pricing model because it had the measurement points, and you had somehow a grace period. You give everybody a login, you measure a quarter, how heavily it's used. And then it was really paid for concurrent user. And this gives the customer the benefit that he's not overpaying in the classic SaaS style. But at the same time, it also allowed the vendor that, hey, that's the value what I'm delivering, by the way. When I want to increase my revenue with customer XYZ, then I need to accelerate the adoption. I need to go to the other teams. What is their benefit? I need to understand why 80% are not using my tool. I think this would be really cool to have something like this. I think the biggest challenge where I can't see how Atlassian will solve it is that we have a couple of thousand apps in the marketplace, and with these, when they really come up with a user-based pricing, every vendor will define a user, and it's different on let's take resolution, single sign-on. It doesn't exist in cloud, but what is a user here? Is a user the one administrator who is setting up this stuff, or is the user the 10,000 users who are logging in with a solution? Yeah, so it's discussed it with EasyBI, also how they define it. Is a user your dashboard creator or report creator, or the person who consume it? And so all app vendors can come up with a definition which makes totally sense for the app vendor. And then I'm looking a little bit or try to understand the customer perspective. And then I'm the poor Jira admin with 10 apps, and I have 10 different definitions of it, what a user is. And now I need to go to my budgeting process with my stakeholders and to put a budget on it, the pricing and so on. I think that it will be super complex. And this at the end means we as app vendors need to explain it to customers or solution partners. They need to explain it again to solution partners. This will increase the cost of sales and will at the end increase the pricing as well. And I think that's the biggest risk. There are tons of positive things for this differentiation and so on. But I think what Atlassian is, my personal perspective, not taking enough into account is these super simple way for buying additional resources in the Atlassian stack. And this is one of the biggest values. I think there's an app, like Apple did it. There's an app for it, buying it, click, available, I can use it, etc. And that's, as soon you have a plan how you handle all this stuff, I'm looking forward to have a separate session for you, because I have tons of question marks how we want to do it. Because at the end, it will end up that apps will not cost $1 or $1.50 per user. When it goes to user-based pricing, we will see apps with $39 per user or more or whatever. So,
yeah, and at the end of the day, I think my main concern and feedback to Atlassian was it's too much at the same time, because then it feels as if they're running an experiment at the speed of a V-cycle initiative. We have to have pricing flexibility. And here are all of the options you've always dreamed about, dread about. You have them all. And ecosystem, do your stuff and we'll see what happens. And I think that should more play a regulatory role here. Say, here are the rules we want our marketplace to live by, and spend some, because they have product marketing people, they have pricing people. I'm wondering how much time was spent on this initiative internally around the side effects this could lead. But we'll see. And I hope Atlassian will just take the feedback and course correct if there needs any course correction. And as for other vendors, I really do recommend anticipating the changes, playing with them, and just not think that all of those fancy toys are useful.
Yeah. I think it is. I talked today to a person, I can't name the person, but there was also an interesting aspect because this person said the last 2 years, Atlassian pushed a lot of customers to the cloud. And I don't want to discuss it if it's good or bad or whatever. It's simple, the fact. But it generated somehow the scenario now, or the status quo, that we have tons of customers in cloud, but they haven't adopted cloud totally yet. So because Atlassian pushed it so hard in some cases that, yes, we migrate now, and these customers still figuring out, okay, what's the value now? How can I use it? And so on. And we see tons of effect on it, that customers on cloud have less apps installed as on data center, for example, because they're still working with that. But there are tons of other reasons, like Atlassian is also replacing app use cases, etc., AI, and so on, you name it. But to your point, and I think that's a really good point, you always need to look on the timing aspect as well. So you can't do everything at the same time, because this can end up relatively quickly that you overwhelm your whole customers, the whole ecosystem, etc. And then maybe a good plan fails. So just because the timing is not right. And That's by the way the first time that I'm hearing the timing aspect in all these discussions. What I have, but it's a super good one. Interesting. So differentiation. Do you see as? I mean, you were in the past super close with Valiantis. Valiantis is one of these solution partners who's 100% Atlassian focused. So you said already, okay, we are 100% ITSM focused, and you have a lot of experience in the ITSM place with the apps and so on. Have you ever thought about to check out other marketplaces, other solutions where you can share your experience as an app vendor on, I don't know, the HubSpot side, the Monday.com side of the world, the SAP, Salesforce, whatever side? So have you ever thought about it, or is it, no, Atlassian's fine?
We've done more than thinking about it. It was actually part of our refocus shift that we decided we would close that door in 2023 for the next 3 years. Reason being, we experimented with a lot of ecosystem. We experimented with Salesforce, with Zendesk. We ran research on other ecosystems. At the time, Monday wasn't as mature as it is now. Basically, we didn't find a recipe for success in this ecosystem, the Zendesk one and the Salesforce one. The Monday.com wasn't as much. It's not the Monday of today. It was the Monday of 2019, so very different. And so we thought that we should focus our energy first on this journey of refocusing and building an expertise, and we couldn't, if we wanted to remain small and effective, focus on too many areas. So that doesn't mean we don't look at other ecosystems. We talk from time to time with you guys or other companies to feel of what's going on. But from at least until the end of next year, we will resist the temptation so that we build that business expertise that we lacked. And I think once that, maybe we would consider moving to other ecosystems if that's the right timing or the right fit. But otherwise, we found that it was a lot of energy to be involved in multiple ecosystems, and it didn't allow us to excel at any ecosystems because we got spread too thin in terms of technology expertise, business expertise, relationships as a small company. So that's the choice we made. So far it's paid, but I'm not saying it's forever. It's just for this 3 years that we decided, let's try that.
That's cool. And that's an amazing bridge to the last part of the podcast, to the 0612 podcast. So because you said, okay, that's not set in stone, but let's check what your plan is for the next couple of months and for the next 12 months. So let me share again my screen. So you answered a couple of questions in the preparation. And my first question is always, what was your last interesting challenge where what you have faced, so where you couldn't find a good manual or an existing playbook how to challenge it? And you answered that the balancing of investments between established products, revenue streams, and so on, and the crazy new ideas, how to balance this. So at the end, when you haven't found a playbook, do you found a solution then for yourself? What worked with that, or how you're doing it nowadays?
I'm a firm believer in continuous improvement and trying stuff and then getting feedback, whether through colleagues or the market or feedback. So over the years, we've tried several approaches for that. I think the one we have currently has, obviously, its cons, but it has a lot of pros because it was really a struggle. We have like our existing revenue drivers, the ones that were born in the pre-cloud world, and where we have a lot of customers, a lot of effort to put to migrate them to cloud, etc. And we also need to build new cloud native apps that are more long-term investments. And we always get to a point where it's challenging to know where to put your energy and in order to balance the short term with the long term. So I think first was to acknowledge that it's going to be hard, and that we have different time horizons for our strategy. We have the now, and we have what's next, and we have what's later. Later is still in our heads, and we imagine and we dream and we envision the future. And now and next are the two product streams that we have. So one thing that we put in place is a product portfolio management ritual that we have every quarter, and a more in-depth one every 6 months, depending on. For this year, at least, we will have this twice a year, the more formal one, because it corresponds to what's needed to achieve our goals. And in doing that, we are able to bring all of the opportunities identified by our product management teams, all of the leaders, the marketing leader, the engineering leader, the product leaders in the same room, and we negotiate, debate, where we put the marketing energy for the next quarter, where we put the development and discovery energy for the next quarter. And it's helped us maintain this balance, because we have everyone in the room representing different aspects. Chris is usually going to drive more for the short-term revenue drivers, because he owns that, whereas I'm probably going to drive more for the long-term revenue drivers because I own that. So also as co-CEOs, we will try to balance each other. So that's helping. And the other thing that also helped us is to have a different work stream for new products, to recreate
the innovator work stream, what you mentioned.
Yeah, the accelerate one, where we have we give ourselves an amount of time maximum that we want to spend on initiative before we go live, and we focus on delivering something within 8 weeks, for instance, of development. Before that, we have steps where we investigate different problem space, we do a design sprint, we do stuff like that. But really seeing that this portfolio management, a place where we invest our time and money, which are the resources that we are putting, is something that's helped us improve in how we manage this tricky challenge of where to put our energy in existing products or new bets.
I think was one question was Elements Pools also one of these products which went to this innovation cycle? Okay.
Yeah, it's the first one that we designed through this Accelerate program. We worked with customers, solution partners. We really embraced a design thinking approach to involve them in the design of the app. And it's been super effective. We mentioned how in course correcting design of the product at the time, and in getting feedback early, not developing something to get feedback, but showing mock-ups, for instance, to get feedback, etc.
I think I like the approach. I mean, that was exactly the app what your colleagues, your team presented on this Beyond Team 24 tour. And it was after seeing the presentation sometimes, and I had also the product in our demo instance and played a little bit around it. The interesting point for me was that in this first version, this classic MVP version, it was a super simplified product. So it was nothing complex on it and so on. But at the same time, this whole XLA approach, where and I worked many years also in the ITSM stuff. I did sales and project management for a service desk who handled over 45,000 tickets per year. And we sold these capabilities to other companies. And I never heard of XLA before. So I was 2-3 years out of the ITSM stuff. And what I really liked on this approach is that you came up with a really, really good explanation why XLA is the next level, the next stage of SLAs, where SLA is going more on the negative way, and XLA is really more on the positive way, on the experience with the customers, etc. I think we had some super funny moments with Christoph when he explained it based on the watermelon and the green and the red stuff, and we discussed, well, why the red stuff is a good stuff on the watermelon and not the green stuff. So it was an amazing picture, but at the end, what I really liked is that you somehow implemented ideas during the tour in customer minds and in solution partner minds to think about these XLA stuff. And you provided an idea how an app can look like in an early stage. And then you actively ask for, okay, now we need your feedback. Now we need your feedback for the next version of the app. And I think that was really good. I see it very often from our side, or also other companies that also Andy from Yasun said a little bit the same. They are more going for our feature need to be complete, perfect, and so on, and then we roll it out. And then you can end up in a situation that we have a perfect feature which is complete, but nobody is interested in that. And having these early collaboration, I really like the approach. That's an interesting one. And the melon story. I will never forget the melon discussion about the red and the green stuff. Where do you want to be in the next 6 months, or what are more the stuff what you're seeing where Elements and you face in the next 6 months? I mean, you mentioned already here optimizing the cloud revenue strategy. We discussed it already a little bit with all these new pricing models, etc. So is this optimizing the cloud revenue mainly on these changes from Atlassian, or do you see other tasks here as well?
I think it's a 6 months milestone because Atlassian makes it a 6 months milestone, but it's more of a long-term journey where we need to really understand how our apps are used. So this also means more analytics embedded in our products to know, okay, this client is using our app for X, Y, Z, so that we are able to monetize based on value and not just maybe on users, but also to double down our investment where it works. That would be the first thing I would say. And then in terms of optimizing our cloud revenue, it's also making sure we are competitive within the market, making sure we understand customers as well. We have, I guess, like you, the challenge that know that we are no more a part of the solution partner. We have more transactional relationships with our customers. So I really want Elements to be able to change that and build a strong and deep relationship with at least a set of customers, what Tanguy Cruson from Atlassian calls lighthouse users. Having the small amount of customers that we partner with to design and imagine what our product should look like in the future. And it's also a lot about this monetization challenge, the editions. How can we leverage that to create more value for a certain set of customers? The bundles, how can we take that opportunity and create full-blown solutions around certain business needs that currently aren't easy for customers to face because here and there. Yeah, this is the number one challenge that I highlighted here.
The interesting point is here that it changed a little bit how the marketplace worked in the past. I remember on sentences from some founders when they launched the first app in the marketplace many, many years ago. The most impressive moment was when the first transaction came in, somebody bought your app, a company from Florida, and you have nowadays these customers, in most of the cases since many years, they're loving your product, but at the same time it's super hard to get in contact with them. And there's also the pressure point that what I explain to customers or also other people, I also can't talk to all my customers when my goal would be to talk to all customers, or we have over 3,000 customers, then I need a huge customer success team or a huge sales force for getting all the influence. And at the same time, we have also this wish of getting more airtime from customers for feedback, for being part of designing the next versions. What we're doing from time to time, that we contact our customers and saying, okay, we want to share with you our Figma designs for the next version. We want to understand if this would fit your needs. We also did our super straightforward since over 12 years in the marketplace, that we collecting every feature request, it's properly stored, it's aligned to the development tickets, we're giving early indications to these customers. And this is so helpful. This feedback is so super valuable that you not develop around customer needs. No, you develop direct for customer needs. But at the same time, it's also what you said for other topics as well. It's a continuous process, because it's so difficult to include them and to creating these lighthouse customer community. So it means, as a shout out to all customers, please answer to our mails when we want to have your feedback.
My recent realization with that is because obviously you can talk to your customers through data and analytics, but that's only part of the story. And then I've always wanted to have this big user community. And then over the past months, I came across the articles that Tanguy Cruson and his team wrote about their lighthouse users, and I only had 10 to be Jira product discovery. And that made me reflect. And you know what? I said to myself and to my team the other day, let's not aim for many. Let's aim for deep connections with a few. And that's, I think, more achievable. And that would bring us the quality insights that we need. And so I'm aiming for a few deep connections that I will make, hopefully, a team, and over the course of the next event we attend.
Yeah, I mean, on the cloud side, we also have still the challenge on the data center Summit product, because it's still a super technical product. So it was just one focused persona, the Jira admin. So means you had immediately this connection point between developers and the administrators. So on these super technical products, it was never difficult for us to create these lighthouse group, because you also send them beta versions of the app for testing and so on. And we still have these customers, and I'm super happy that they collaborate with us on the way that in some cases we have customers, they sending us parts of code, what they want to have implemented, because they know the app so good. But yeah, I think it really depends on the product also. It's in some cases, when you have the technical stuff, then it's somehow easier to get to create these small collaboration community. As soon your product is going like our stand-up app, for example, where you have complete different personas, you have the Scrum Masters, you have the meeting attendees, and so on. It's much harder as a marketplace vendor to get these airtime, the contact who's really using your app and so on. So I'm looking forward to it. I like the idea. We are working on similar challenges. I like your point with, hey, let's not go for 50, let's go for 10. And
I think we could easily find them, but and we also work and talk to several customers through interviews, etc. But just the fact that we do not put too much pressure on the amount, but we really put pressure on the quality of the relationship. For me, it's a shift that I think will enable us to co-create value with them much more.
Yeah. So what we started now, it's super fresh. I think the groups are still empty. We started for our products to have also LinkedIn groups, and we invite people to these LinkedIn groups. And that's a little bit our hope, to get more insights also on how they use it and sharing their problems, because that's sometimes a little bit sad in this whole marketplace anonymous way for selling a solution, that you have the communication-based support, which I love. It's important. And I always hope that every customer has our support in mind. When they have a problem, please open a ticket. Then since a couple of years, you have the chat on the website, which also works amazing well. where we can get in contact with customers when they really struggle as a user of our app and not as the admin. And then you have the marketplace review, and you're getting a marketplace review when somebody is super amazed or super pissed off. So so that's a little, there's very often 1 star or 4 stars, but nothing in the middle. And then these marketplace reviews, then it's often too late to communicate with a person. We always try it. We have also success with that, especially when somebody was not super happy with a specific point, that we collaborate with the person who gave the review. And very often we also changed it because maybe our documentation was not perfect. We not highlighted that this is possible. But yeah, it's interesting. And I think that's also to your point before with a differentiation. I think this will make the difference of the marketplace vendors in the future, who is good in understanding the customer demands and is also on these fuels, to use your product name, on it. So top performing apps. So the second point was here a little bit making a strategy bets, ITSM that differentiate elements from the competitors. So we talked a little bit about it. I want to ask you one specific point here. Relatively new on the App Week in Brussels, Atlassian shared it, and now it's also more and more written that it's Forge. There is now also a timeline for, and I like Forge, so I'm not, I really like the Forge approach. But there's also a timeline for end of life of Connect now, more and more. And Atlassian is also here putting a really tight timeline to all the app vendors now again. But I don't want to point out the timeline. I want to ask you the following question. Do you believe, and it could be a yes or no answer with a small sentence behind it, do you believe when every app vendor is working with the same tool set Forge, that apps will be more or less differentiate, more different or less different in the future?
That's an interesting question. To answer, I think I'm going to tell it depends on how mature and open Forge is. Because it is exactly the same with what we discussed with pricing. Atlassian was regulating the capability that we have to differentiate on pricing and packaging because there was just one single option. Now they are like opening a room to a lot of options, like totally opening the boundaries to our creativity in terms of business model. Not totally, but a lot. From one model to like I don't know how many. I think it's the same with Forge. It depends on how mature the platform will be. It will enable us to do stuff, many stuff or little stuff, and so it's an enabler of differentiation. I think, depending, and that's a message to the Atlassian teams. Please make Forge more mature.
Yeah, agree. +1. So definitely. Good. Okie dokie. So the last question is always, where are you planning to be in 1 year? So, and you have a relatively clear answer to it, straightforward. You want to be the #1 ITSM app vendor in the Atlassian ecosystem. So, people who are following you on LinkedIn, they potentially have seen today that what we had also in the beginning, that you are the finalist already for this ITSM award. So cross fingers that you also win it. So means one part of this goal is potentially done in 3 weeks at Team 25 and I'm. So what do you think? What will be the most important part here for you, or from your perspective at the moment, what will be the drivers for being the ITSM app vendor #1?
What would be the driver? I don't have just one ingredient to my recipe. I put 4, and I think the 4 are equally important. I want us to have a product suite that's aligned with ITSM business needs. So that's what we've been working on for the year and a half in the past. We really try to align our roadmaps and our products to ITSM use cases. Every product has had its range of new features or new use cases unlocked. Competencies, for instance, has been improved a lot in how it can enhance issue escalation. And just before we shoot this podcast, we had a demo with the team where they showed us great progress in this area. We've revamped overview, so it allows for SLA transparency with the customers, not just issue visibility. We have evolved how Connect is bringing in new customer data inside Jira in new ways so that agents have a lot of context when they tackle issues. So that's the idea now is to with this idea of suite is really to try to see where 1 + 1 = 3 with our products. This idea of bundles or suite and solutions, this is something we're currently working on. The High Velocity ITSM Award, we hope we'll get it because we've been investing so much in transforming into this go-to ITSM vendor that we want to be, and also helping the community grow in ITSM with partners with solution partners, but also with ITSM leaders outside of the Atlassian world, been to so many ITSM events that I think we have some things interesting to share with the Atlassian community around that. So let's hope we win. We really want to deepen the partnerships with solution partners. Not every solution partner will be a fit, of course, but we think we have ideas and projects that we could potentially work with them on solution design and solution selling as well, because it's where these two motion can help. And to conclude, culture is also super important. So we want to really reinforce the culture we have at Elements. We work on our values as well, to have values that, because we have values that we've inherited from Valiantis. They're great. They've guided us for a while. But right now we're in a moment where we also need to transform again as a company, because the markets demanded it. So what are the values that we've inherited and are good to keep, but the ones that we need to take us further in the next version of Elements, the 2027 version of Elements? And how can we embed them in our day-to-day so that we really live and breathe these values?
It sounds like a really, really good plan. I think that's also to your solution partner thing, and what we learned together on the tour where you joined and also Resolution is that working with solution partners is that ITSM is still a hot topic. I think it's so normally you have these discussion points from vendors. They coming up with something, then it's highlighted maybe a year or 2 years, then it's going down, and the vendor, Atlassian or whatever, is coming up with the next thing. But the whole ecosystem is still adopting the old story. And these stories can have complete different lifetimes. And what I really like on this whole ITSM approach, also with the success of Jira Service Management, clearly, I think was many years one of the strongest products from Atlassian with the biggest growth rate and so on. And it is also an interesting topic where customers have a lot of demand, solution partners have a lot of expertise. So it has already a super long timeline, and there's no end visible at the moment. So no, I really cross fingers that you're successful with that. I mean, we as Resolution, we know how beautiful it is to be the number one for a specific solution. We were many, many years for single sign-on, and we also created the family around user management, and that was the topic, and that's also what customers valued a lot, that these are the experts for user onboarding, maintenance, and user offboarding, and they have different solutions for that. So, and we still develop on this solution also when it's a data center solution, doesn't exist in cloud, and customers are still happy that we innovate these existing solution because we are solving problems for them. And I think this is the main part here. We are coming close to the 2 hours. It's really, really amazing, and it's a pleasure to have you here. What I really like on this podcast is that I have a chance to talk 2 hours to a person without just we need to go to the next meeting, etc. Julie, it was perfect. Where can people meet you next in person? I think Team 25 Anaheim. You will be there.
Yeah, I'll be at Team 25 Anaheim. That's where people can meet me next. That's for the next event I'll attend for the Atlassian community. And if they want to meet me at an ITSM industry event, I will be at the site slash MSP show in London in May as well. So
Okay.
connect there. And yeah, that was
And
talking to you. Really enjoyed the show and the questions, the conversation.
thank you very much. And we learned that you are searching for lighthouse customers. So it means everybody who's using Elements, Elements Connect or Pules or the new one, reach out to Julie. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for your time. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I see you then also in Anaheim.
Yeah, let's see each other in Anaheim.